What's up everyone, Technic here. So in this video, I'll be teaching you how to install Vita DB. If you don't know what Vita DB is, it's basically the upgraded version of the homebrew browser, and it's way better. It works a lot better than the homebrew browser did, and the installation is actually fairly easy. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So first off, to get the prerequisites out the way, because I love to do that, make sure your device is fully charged if you're playing on a PS Vita. Make sure you're running some kind of custom firmware, and make sure that you're connected to the internet, whether it's Wi-Fi or an Ethernet cable for you. Once you're good to go on all that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the first step. Go ahead and navigate to your Vita Deploy app, and we're going to be downloading an application from it. So remember, whenever you go into the Vita Deploy app, don't go to the install, always go to the start. Next, we're going to go ahead and scroll all the way down to the App Downloader tab. Once you're in the App Downloader tab, go ahead and scroll down to the Vita DB Downloader, and go ahead and press your selection button to checkmark. I'm not going to say the X or circle button because it might be different for depending on whichever region your system is. So go ahead and check mark the Vita DB downloader, scroll back up, and go to download the selected applications. It's not going to take that long to download, thankfully. However, the installation of the Vita DB might take a little bit to actually install. So once your Vita Deploy app is done downloading, it's going to pop up with a prompt that says you can now exit this application. Go ahead and exit the application. Close out of Vita Deploy, and then go back to your home menu and scroll down, and you're going to see the new application. So this is the Vita DB downloader. The Vita DB downloader is a super upgraded version of the Vita homebrew browser. And I personally love this application because it just looks way better. The UI is just way more smooth, and you can find things a lot easier, and it works better too. Go ahead and enter into the Vita DB downloader application for the first time, and it's going to be kind of a setup going on, but I'm going to kind of walk you through it. So it's going to pop up with one pop-up. Go ahead and press OK, and your screen is going to kind of do a weird like shaking effect. I can't really explain it, but it's kind of installing everything for you. So it's going to go through about 3 prompts, and then it's going to go into a Vita package installer. In fact, this package installer screen kind of reminds me of a PlayStation 3 developer menu, which I do have a hacked, or I do have a PlayStation 3 running custom firmware, so this background really reminds me of that, and I thought it was pretty cool that something like this is actually on the package installer. But as I said before, the Vita database or Vita DB downloader is going to take a little bit of time to actually install, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through it. So after it goes through that and goes through the package installer, it's going to go back into the Vita DB, and it's going to download something called Shark Food, which is another application you need to finish installing the Vita DB. So without not trying to confuse anyone, but it just went through about 3 different applications just to install this one application, but this is needed so everything is installed correctly. So after it goes through those 3 prompts, it's going to pop up with Vita DB downloader features functionality. Will this pop up? Just go ahead and go to yes, so it can download the required plugin for it. Please do not click on no. Please click on yes so it can finish installing correctly. So go ahead and press yes. It's going to do that shaking effect again, and it's actually going to download the Vita DB, like all the application icons and everything that it needs to download. Now this is going to take quite some time, so I'm actually going to skip ahead for you guys because it actually does take a little bit of time. So it took about almost 2 minutes to finish downloading, but once it is downloading, it's going to say parse parsing apps list, and this is the Vita DB downloader menu. As you can see, you can find a whole bunch of apps. It's also a filter button to where you can filter it out to find ports, emulators, and everything else. Honestly, this Vita DB downloader is extremely useful for anyone that has a PS Vita, because you can find several things on it. And what I'm doing right now is I'm closing all 3 of the applications that I had to open just to install it, just to show you that the next time that you go into the Vita DB downloader, it will actually just pop up very quickly after the installation is done the first time. So it's just going to download the apps list, parsing the apps list, and then it's just going to pop up. So as you can see, after you do the full setup, it's just way easier. Now, this is going to be a kind of combined video, because I wanted to also show you how to download the emulator. So all you do is scroll down and then go to the emulators portion. And I'm also just showing you that the original games that people make. So these are a lot of the homebrew games that people made, and honestly, a lot of them are pretty fun. It doesn't really take that long to download any of these homebrew games, but it's actually pretty cool. So what I really liked is Doom being on the PS Vita, because honestly, if people didn't, or if y'all didn't know, Doom pretty much can run on essentially anything now. So it's very cool to see Doom on there. It's very cool to see Quake on there. Now, the only prerequisite that I will say about the game ports, however, most of these game ports require additional setup. So you cannot just download any of these and it'll work. A lot of these require its own separate tutorial, and I can't even get into that because as far as the game ports themselves, this kind of falls into the illegal territory on most of them. So I unfortunately cannot show you how to do that. What I can do, however, is show you how to download the emulators. Now, I was going to make a video on RetroArch, just like combining it with this video, but you're hearing it from me today in this video right now. Please do not download RetroArch from the Vita database, okay? Please do not download RetroArch. I'm going to show you why you shouldn't download RetroArch through here, and you should just download the corresponding emulator that you're trying to play. So if you're trying to play GBA ROMs, download the MGBA. If you're trying to play the SNES emulator, download the SNES emulator. I'm going to show you why to not download RetroArch through here, and I'm going to actually make a separate RetroArch video, because the RetroArch that you download from here, the theme looks so ugly, and it's honestly very hard to navigate through. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fast forward the entire process of downloading RetroArch through here, and what you are going to see is about maybe a minute. You know what, I'm even going to squeeze it down to 30 seconds. But I am not kidding when I say that this entire installation for RetroArch took almost 35 minutes. I am going to say that again. The entire installation for RetroArch took 35 minutes to actually complete. So please heed my words. Wait for my RetroArch video, because I'm going to be downloading it straight from the RetroArch website, and the setup is a lot quicker than waiting 35 minutes on your PS Vita or PS TV for this application to actually download. So without further ado, let me go ahead and fast forward this part, because this was an absolute nightmare to even sit through recording this. So there you have it. I compressed about 35 minutes of recorded video into that 21 seconds that just zoomed by, and I didn't know it was going to take that long, but I just want to show you what the RetroArch UI looks like from downloading it from the Vita DB. I personally don't like it. It works just fine. However, the navigation might be a little bit confusing for people that are just getting into RetroArch. And if you don't know what RetroArch is RetroArch is a collection of every single emulator that you can think of on the PS Vita. So basically, you have the GBA, GB, you have the Sega Genesis, Sega, like pretty much every single emulator that you can think of is on RetroArch. Now, the things that will actually work on the PS Vita is the things that are actually on the PS Vita's version of RetroArch. So, as you can see, the home menu is slightly confusing. I personally don't like it. There's actually a way better UI for the PS Vita's RetroArch, which I will be showing you how to do in the next video coming out. So I just wanted to kind of show you what RetroArch actually looks like. So I'm not going to say it's like too bad, but once you see the RetroArch that I'm talking about, that I'm going to make a video on, you're not even going to care about this OG menu for RetroArch. So without further ado, I'm actually going to show you how to download the regular emulator. So for starters, I'm just going to start off with the GBA emulator. So if you do not want to wait almost 40 real-time minutes to download RetroArch, here's how you just download one of the regular emulators. If you just wanted to play, the Game Boy Advance or anything like that, if you do have ROMs for it. So if you wanted to just download a regular emulator, just for any device that you wanted to emulate, just go to Filter, scroll down to Emulators, go there, and then as you can see, it kind of shows you every single emulator that you can run on the PS Vita. I usually just click on most downloaded. Obviously, RetroArch is going to be the most downloaded one because it's kind of a one-stop shop. But again, you're going to be waiting about 40 minutes, 35 to 45 minutes, depending on your device, for that to actually download. Or if you just wanted to download a specific emulator and just add ROMs into your PS Vita, then by all means download the other emulators, because it will be way faster. And I actually am going to show this in real time just to show you how fast it is to just download one emulator. So for starters, this is the MGBA. This is honestly my most highly recommended emulator if you want to play GBA. And MGBA is actually one of the emulators inside of RetroArch. So like I said, it's kind of a one-stop shop. But at the same time, if you just download a single emulator for the specific ROM that you want to play, it just works so much better. So all you have to do is go to your desired emulator, press the select button to start it downloading. It's going to download it for you, extract all the things that it needs to extract, and it's going to install the app. And after it says installing the app, that's it. It's just going to be installed. Now that was about 10 seconds compared to the 35 to 40 minutes that you're going to be waiting. Look, I even downloaded 2 emulators just to show you how fast it is compared to downloading RetroArch. Now if you want to download RetroArch, you're going to be waiting about 40 minutes, or you can just download one of the emulators that you want to primarily play your ROMs on, and it's just going to take about 10 seconds each, roughly 10 seconds each emulator that you want to download. But I just wanted to show you the difference between that. Now when I did try to run the Game Boy Color emulator specifically, it didn't work, but I'm happy to say that the MGBA will work regardless of whatever you're playing on, and it will run any Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, any of those ROMs that you do have. It'll run all of them, thankfully. So this does conclude the tutorial. If anyone has any questions, please do not hesitate to write it down in the comments, and I will answer it as soon as I can. As far as looking at the ROMs that you do have, all you have to do is just make a folder that just says ROMs on it. Put the ROMs inside of that folder, and you can actually scan the databases inside of the MGBA app and find your ROM folder. It's actually it's fairly easy. If you do need me to make a separate tutorial on MGBA itself, I will, 100%. But other than that, this concludes the video. Please stay tuned for the next video. One of them is going to be a PS Vita video, and the other one is going to be something completely different. It's actually going to be documenting a part of video game history, and I'm looking forward to that video because it's a video I want to make for a very long time. But this is Tech Nick, and I'll see y'all in the next video.